The Old West, often romanticized in popular culture, holds a captivating history filled with tales of exploration, conflict, and adventure. From the early pioneers' westward expansion to the dates of cowboys and outlaws, this video presents a concise timeline that unravels the fascinating events that shaped the legendary era of the American frontier. Embark on a journey through time as we delve into the key moments that defined the spirit of the Old West. Although the Wild West is a time period commonly identified between 1865 and 1895, there are many events that have defined the American West as a region from ancient times until 1916.
Remember to hit the like button because it helps us a lot. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the notification bell to not miss the upcoming interesting videos.
50,000 until 5000 BC. Paleo-Siberians migrated to North America from Asia via the Bering Strait land bridge. 1500 BC to 1000 AD. Ancient Puebloan culture thrived in the Southwest. 1540. Spanish conquistador Francisco Vasquez de Coronado embarked on an expedition into uncharted territory north of colonial Mexico in search of the legendary 7 cities of gold. The voyage lasted more than 2 years, during which Coronado passed through much of the American Southwest and as far north as present-day Kansas. His party was the first to document the geography and native peoples of the important parts of the West. 1548. Captain James Cook, searching the Northwest Passage, maps part of the Oregon coast. 1549. Naval officer Sir Francis Drake claims California to England. 1579. English explorer Francis Drake lands his expedition on the Pacific coast of North America in present-day Drake's Bay, California, claims all of the land not already under Spanish control for the English crown. 1598. Spanish explorer Juan de Oñate establishes Nuevo Mexico in the area around the Upper Rio Grande as the northernmost province of New Spain, acting as its first colonial governor. 1607. Spanish colonists established the city of Santa Fe in the province of Santa Fe de Nuevo Mexico. 1680. The Pueblo Indians of northern New Mexico, outraged by the atrocities committed by Spanish explorers and colonists, resisted during the Pueblo Revolt. Many settlers were killed, and the rest were driven south. 1682. The Spaniards established the first permanent settlement in Texas at Isleta, near present-day El Paso. 1685. A short-lived French colony is established in Matagorda Bay, Texas. 1692. Santa Fe is officially recaptured by the Spaniards after Diego de Vargas negotiates peace with the Pueblo Indians. The following 6 years saw the difficult recovery of the Spanish and Franciscan rulers of Pueblos, including another revolt in 1696, which was successfully counterattacked by de Vargas and his forces. 1706. The city of Albuquerque is founded in Santa Fe de Nuevo Mexico as La Villa Real de San Francisco de Albuquerque by the provincial governor Francisco Cuervo y Valdez. 1718. Mission San Antonio de Valero, later known as the Alamo, is founded in Spanish Texas to weaken French claims in the area. 4 days later, the Presidio de San Antonio de Bexar was established nearby to protect the new town of San Antonio de Bexar. 1743. Louis Joseph and Francois Verendryer explore South Dakota, looking for a waterway to the Pacific Ocean. 1759. A Spanish attack on an Indian village along the Red River in what is now Texas is repulsed and defeated by the allied tribes Wichita, Comanche, and Tonkawa. 1762. France transfers all of its territory west of the Appalachian Mountains to Spain in a secret treaty just months before negotiations to end the French and Indian Wars. 1769. the Spanish build Mission Basilica San Diego de Alcala, the first mission facility in California. 1775, a company of Spanish soldiers establishes a site for the Presidio San Agustin del Tucson in what is now Tucson, Arizona. 1776, Franciscan brothers Escalante and Dominguez explore Utah. Presidio was founded in San Francisco, California. 1779, Comanche Indian leader Cuerno Verde is killed in battle with Spanish forces led by Juan Bautista de Anza in what is now Pueblo County, Colorado. 1781, Los Angeles, California is founded. 1783, the Treaty of Paris is signed by Great Britain and the United States of America, ending the American Revolutionary War and establishing the United States as an independent country. 1792, Captain George Vancouver's expedition anchors near present-day Seattle and goes on to name Puget Sound, Mount Rainier, Vashon Island, and Restoration Point. Vancouver and his expedition were the first Europeans to explore the area, claiming it as part of Great Britain. Along with much of the Pacific Northwest coast, including Vancouver Island and the Columbia River. 1800, under pressure from Napoleon Bonaparte, the Kingdom of Spain transfers the Louisiana colony back to the French Republic with the secret Third Treaty of San Ildefonso. 1803, the Louisiana Purchase is added to U.S. territory from the Gulf of Mexico to the northwest. The purchase price is $15 million. The agreement was signed on May 2nd. The Lewis and Clark expedition set out to explore the West. 1805, Lewis and Clark sight the Pacific Ocean for the first time, near the mouth of the Columbia River. The expedition winters at Fort Clatsop on the south side of the river, near present-day Astoria, Oregon. 1806, July 15th, a reconnaissance group of the United States Army under the command of Lieutenant Zebulon Pike departed Fort Bellefontaine near St. Louis to explore the southern territory of Louisiana. September 23rd, Lewis and Clark returned to St. Louis after a journey of nearly 6,000 miles. Over the past 2.5 years, the team has contacted more than 70 Indian tribes and created 140 maps and recorded more than 200 new species of flora and fauna. 1807, fur trapper John Coulter explores the Yellowstone area in Wyoming. 1808, April 6th, German immigrant John Jacob Astor incorporated his American Fur Company. November 10th, the Treaty of Fort Clark is signed, in which the Osage Nation cedes all of its territory east of Fort Clark and north of the Arkansas River to the United States. 1809, Welsh-Canadian explorer David Thompson establishes Salish House as a fur trading post of the Northwest Company in what is now Montana. 1810, Mexico revolts against Spanish rule. The Northwest Company, established by Spokane House, the first fur training station in Washington. 1811, John Jacob Astor establishes a trading post in Astoria, Oregon. 1812, the Russians build Fort Ross 50 miles north of San Francisco, California. A group of Scots first permanently settled in North Dakota. Missouri Territory was celebrated on June 4, 1812. 1813, during the Mexican War of Independence, a joint expedition of Mexican and American filibusters penetrates deep into Spanish Texas and defeats a royalist army outside San Antonio de Bexar at the Battle of Rosillo Creek. Provincial Governor Manuel Maria de Salcedo is executed 5 days later. 1817, Fort Pierre is established in what would later become South Dakota. 1818, the United States acquires the northeastern portion of North Dakota in a treaty with Britain. 1819, on March 2nd, the Arkansas Territory was organized. 1820, Daniel Boone dies at the home of a relative on the Missouri border at the age of 85. On March 3rd, the Missouri Compromise is passed, essentially providing for slavery in the Western Territories. It banned slavery for all new states north of Arkansas except Missouri. On March 9th, the Land Act of 1820 was enacted to eliminate the purchase of public land in the United States by credit and reduce the minimum size of the road from 160 to 80 acres. The act also reduced the price per acre and paved the way for Western expansion. The first American traders arrived in Santa Fe, New Mexico via the Santa Fe Trail. At this time, more than 20,000 Native Americans were living in virtual slavery at missions in California. 1821, February 22nd. The Treaty of Adams-Onis enters into force exactly 2 years after its first signing, defining a new border between New Spain's territory in the United States and further securing U.S. claims for Louisiana purchases and Oregon country. On August 10th, Missouri was admitted as the 24th state of the United States. August 24th, the Kingdom of Spain finally recognized Mexican independence with the signing of the Treaty of Cordoba, ending the Mexican War of Independence. September 1st, William Becknell and a group of border traders left New Franklin, Missouri for Santa Fe. The Becknell route will become the Santa Fe Trail. 1822, mountain man James Bridger makes the first expedition into the Rocky Mountains. Missouri Deputy Governor William Ashley placed an advertisement for fur traders for the new Rocky Mountain Trading Company. 1823, June 2nd, Arikara warriors attacked trappers working for Ashley's Rocky Mountain Fur Company on the banks of the Missouri River in what is now South Dakota, beginning the Arikara War. An expedition of American soldiers and their Sioux allies led by Lieutenant Colonel Henry Leavenworth retaliates against the Arikara several weeks later, marking the first armed conflict between the U.S. Army and Native Americans in the West. 1824, April 17th, the Russo-American Treaty of 1824 is signed, formally transferring Russian claims in the Pacific Northwest south of 54 degrees and 40 northern latitude to the United States. April 21st, Fort Gibson is established near the confluence of the Grand River and the Arkansas River in present-day Oklahoma. July 7th, the first of 297 pioneer families and partnerships known as the Old 300 are granted land titles in American impresario Stephen F. Austin's colony in Coahuila y Tejas. They are the first American settlers of Mexican Texas under a recently reformed Mexican law. 1825, the mountain man's first rendezvous takes place on Henry's Fork of the Green River in present-day Wyoming. 1826, on January 24th, the Creeks agree to cede their land in Georgia and move west. It was the first of a series of elimination treaties. On December 16th, Benjamin Edwards entered Mexican-controlled Nacogdoches, Texas, and declared himself ruler of the Fredonian Republic. Edwards negotiated a deal with the Cherokees offering to share Texas in exchange for their help in defending against Mexican soldiers. 6 weeks later, Edwards' unplanned revolution fell apart, and he fled to the United States for shelter. 1827, Fort Leavenworth is established in Kansas to protect travelers on the Santa Fe and Oregon trails. Dr. John McLaughlin built the first sawmill in the Pacific Northwest, what would later become Oregon. 1830, on May 26, the Indian Removal Act is passed. George Catlin becomes the first significant artist to paint Native Americans. 1831, Mexico ratifies the boundaries with the United States originally established by the Treaty of Adams-Onis. June 19th, on her maiden voyage, the steamship Yellowstone arrived at what is now Pierre, South Dakota, hundreds of miles farther than any steamship that had sailed up the Missouri River, demonstrating the practicality of navigating large watercraft on Upper Missouri. 1832, April 6th. The Black Hawk War begins when the Sac and Foxes try to plant crops in their cornfields and are repelled by the whites. The Indians were forced to leave Illinois. August 2nd, Texas settlers refuse orders to surrender arms to José de las Piedras, commander of the Mexican battalion at Nacogdoches. The subsequent Battle of Nacogdoches is sometimes called the opening shot of the Texas Revolution. October 20th, in the Treaty of Pontotoc Creek, The Chickasaw Nation cedes northern Mississippi and moves west of the Mississippi River. 1833, William and Charles Bent, in partnership with Sarin St. Vrain, founded Fort William, later known as Fort Bent, was a border trading post on the north bank of the Arkansas River, along the Santa Fe Trail in what is now southeastern Colorado. 1834, Fort Laramie is founded by William Sublette in what is now eastern Wyoming as a private fur trading post named Fort William. On July 31st, Fort Hall was established on the Snake River in present-day Idaho. 1835, on October 2nd, the first battle of the Texas Revolution occurs when American settlers defeat a Mexican cavalry near the Guadalupe River. On November 13th, Texans officially declared their independence from Mexico, calling themselves the Lone Star Republic. 1836. On February 24th, the Alamo is attacked by Mexican forces and all of its more than 180 defenders are killed, including William Travis, Jim Bowie, and Davy Crockett. The Texans under the command of Sam Houston defeated the Mexican army and captured General Santa Anna at the Battle of San Jacinto, Texas. Texas becomes a republic. 1838. On June 17th, the Cherokees begin the Trail of Tears, a 1,200-mile forced march east to present-day Oklahoma. A smallpox outbreak north of San Francisco killed more than 60,000 natives. 1839. On July 15th, the militias of the Republic of Texas achieved a decisive victory over the Cherokee and Delaware Indians in the Battle of the Neches, the main engagement of the 1838-1839 Cherokee War. 1840. In the Council House fight, a delegation of 33 Comanche chiefs and warriors is slaughtered by Texas militiamen while attempting to negotiate the return of captive white settlers at a peace conference in San Antonio. 1845. On June 1st, John C. Fremont's third expedition with 55 men and Kit Carson as a guide leaves St. Louis to map the source of the Arkansas River, but continues to the Sacramento Valley. On June 23rd, the Republic of Texas accepts a joint resolution of the U.S. Congress to annex Texas to the United States. Mexico does not recognize the annexation. The phrase manifest destiny first appears in the Democratic Review in an essay by John L. O'Sullivan urging the annexation of Texas. The concept does not become widely popular until O'Sullivan later uses the same phrase while addressing the subject of the Oregon Country. On December 19th, the Lash Law bans blacks from living in the Oregon Territory. On December 29th, the United States admits the Republic of Texas to the Union as the slave state of Texas. The boundaries of the state remain undefined. 1846. Brigham Young and 3,000 Mormons sailed for Utah on February 4, 1846. On May 8th, the first major battle of the Mexican War was fought at Palo Alto, Texas, bringing victory to the Mexicans. General Zachary Taylor's forces on May 13th. The United States Congress declared war on Mexico. The Black Bear Rebellion begins in California. The American flag is raised in Monterey, California. The United States, in a treaty with Britain, acquired the Oregon Territory. 1847. On January 13th, the Treaty of Cahuenga ends the Mexican-American War in California. In February, the first of 3 relief missions arrived to rescue survivors of the Donner Party, who had been trapped in the snow in the Sierra Nevada mountains of California for more than 3 months. On July 24th, Brigham Young and his Mormons, Vanguard, first arrived in the Salt Lake Valley in present-day Utah. On November 29th, 15 Oregon missionaries, including mission founders Marcus and Narcissa Whitman, were murdered and 54 others held hostage by a group of Cayuse Indians who accused Whitman of intentionally poisoning an Indian during his medical care during a measles outbreak. The massacre sparked the Cayuse War. 1848. On May 19th, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo ends the Mexican War. The United States has more than 500,000 square miles, including what will become the states of California, Nevada, Utah, most of New Mexico and Arizona, and parts of Wyoming and Colorado. Texas was also ceded to the United States. James Marshall discovered gold at Sutter's Mill in California. A Mormon trading post at Genoa was the first permanent settlement in Nevada. Oregon is recognized as a territory. The state of Desiree, founded by the Mormons, includes Utah, most of Nevada and Arizona, and parts of Oregon, Idaho, Wyoming, New Mexico, and Colorado. 1849. On February 28th, regular steamboat service between the east and west coasts of the United States begins with the arrival of the SS California at San Francisco. On March 3rd, Minnesota Territory was organized from parts of Wisconsin and Iowa Territory. 1850. February, the Pinkerton National Detective Agency is established. 8th through 10th February. The Nauvoo Corps, on orders of Brigham Young, attacked the Timpanogos Indians over a land dispute near Fort Utah. April 4th, the city of Los Angeles, California is incorporated. April 15th, the city of San Francisco, California is incorporated. June 1st, the town of Kansas, later Kansas City, is incorporated into the state of Missouri. June 3rd, 5 members of the Cayuse tribe were hanged in Oregon City for their part in the Whitman Massacre. On September 9th, California was admitted as a 31st state of the United States. The Territory of New Mexico and the Territory of Utah were organized by order of Congress. On September 27th, the Donated Land Claims Act went into effect to promote housing settlement in the Oregon Territory. On September 29th, President Millard Fillmore appointed Brigham Young as the first governor of the Utah Territory. 1851, John L. Soule, in an editorial in the Terre Haute Express, advises, "Go west, young man, go west." But New York Tribune editor Horace Greeley gets credit for this line. On September 17th, the Treaty of Fort Laramie was signed with the Sioux Indians. On July 5th, beautiful Juanita, convicted of murder after stabbing a man who had tried to rape her, became the first person to be hanged in California mining camps. On March 27th, the Mariposa Battalion, commanded by James D. Savage, were the first reported non-natives entering Yosemite Valley. On December 13th, the Denny Party landed at Alki Point, the first settlers of what would become Seattle, Washington. 1852, the Mormon Church in Utah officially acknowledges that the practice of polygamy is part of its religion. On March 18th, the Wells Fargo Company was formed to provide courier and banking services to California. 1853, on February 8th, Washington was organized as a territory. On October 25th, the Paiute Indians attacked U.S. Army Captain John W. Gunnison and his group of 37 soldiers and railroad surveyors near Lake Sevier, Utah. Gunnison and 7 other men were killed. On December 30th, the Gadsden Purchase from Mexico added 29,640 square miles of territory to become Arizona and New Mexico. 1854, February 14th, Texas is telegraphed to the rest of the country when a connection between New Orleans and Marshall, Texas is completed. May 30th, the Kansas-Nebraska Act becomes law, creating Kansas Territory and Nebraska Territory. A provision that settlers will vote on the legality of slavery in the new territories effectively rescinds the Missouri Compromise of 1820 and touches off an epidemic of violence and fraud at the beginning of the next year. June 24th, Fort Tejon was established at the southern end of the San Joaquin Valley in California. July 4th, the city of Omaha is incorporated into the Nebraska Territory. August 19th, an argument over a wild cow leads to the Groton Massacre, in which 30 U.S. Army soldiers and an interpreter were killed in retaliation for the fatal shooting of Lakota Sioux conquering bear leader. 1855, January 23rd, the first permanent bridge across the Mississippi River opens for traffic in Minneapolis, Minnesota. September 2nd and 3rd, U.S. Army detachments under Brigadier General William S. Harney defeat a band of Brule Lakota, led by Little Thunder at the Battle of Ash Hollow in present-day Garden County, Nebraska, a punitive expedition for the Grattan Massacre. September 25th, Bureau of Indian Affairs agent Andrew Bolon is murdered by renegade Yakima people in the Washington Territory, precipitating the Yakima War. 1856. On May 21st, border bandits and other abolitionists captured and looted the abolitionist town of Lawrence, Kansas. On May 24th, in retaliation for the looting of an abolitionist town by pro-slavery forces, John Brown, an abolitionist fighter, led a raid on an abolitionist town, pro-slavery settlement along Potawatomi Creek. For the next 4 years, raids, skirmishes, and carnage continued in what became known as Bleeding Kansas. 1857. March 3rd, Fort Abercrombie is established by order of Congress on the Red River of the North, the first permanent U.S. military settlement in what is now North Dakota. March 8th through 12th. At least 35 pioneers are killed and 4 young women are taken captive in northwest Iowa by a renegade band of Santee Sioux in the Spirit Lake Massacre. July 9th. U.S. cavalry charge and scatter a Cheyenne war party on the banks of the Solomon River in north-central Kansas Territory. September 1st, the Battle of Pima Butte, in what is now Arizona, is the last major battle fought solely between indigenous people in North America. September 11th, nearly 120 immigrants passing through the Utah Territory are massacred by a combined force of Mormon militiamen and Paiute Indians during the hysteria of the Utah War. 1858, gold is discovered in Colorado, the first direct horse-drawn carriage from St. Louis, Missouri to Los Angeles, California, completing a 2,600-mile trek across the Southwest in 20 days. 1859, Oregon is admitted as the 33rd state of the United States. Gold was discovered in Boulder Canyon, Colorado, sparking the Pikes Peak gold rush, bringing about 100,000 fortune hunters to the Rockies under the banner Pikes Peak or Bust. Comstock lode was discovered in Nevada. The first steamboat from St. Louis arrives in Fort Benton, Montana, the furthest inland port in the world. 1860, gold is discovered in Idaho. 1861, the Pony Express completes its first delivery, delivering the mail 1,966 miles from St. Louis, Missouri to Sacramento, California for 11 days. Kansas is admitted to the Union. North Dakota and Nevada are organized into territories. March 16th, Governor of Texas Sam Houston is evicted from office for refusing to take an oath of loyalty to the Confederate States of America. March 28th, the southern half of the New Mexico Territory nominally joins the Confederacy as a provisional Confederate territory of Arizona. July 25th, 250 Confederate troops led by John R. Baylor engage Union forces under Isaac Lind at Mesilla, New Mexico, resulting in Lind's troops retreating into the Oregon Mountains toward Fort Stanton. Lind is relieved of duty after abandoning his post. September 2nd, a small Confederate patrol from Fort Stanton is ambushed by Mescalero Apache warriors in New Mexico's Galenas Mountains. October 24th, the first transcontinental telegraph line is completed near Fort Bridger in present-day Wyoming, the result of an effort by Hiram Sibley and Western Union to connect California to the telegraph networks of the East. The ability to instantly send messages from coast to coast immediately makes the Pony Express obsolete. 1862, gold is discovered in Montana near the present-day town of Dillon. Congress passed the Homestead Act. Civil War action was seen in Arkansas, Texas, and New Mexico. Little Crow's Rebellion in New Mexico. The Battle of Picacho Pass in Arizona, the westernmost battle of the Civil War, took place on April 15th. Apache leader Cochise attacked the American soldiers, sparking the war that would follow 10 years later. 1863, Arizona is organized as a territory. Idaho is organized as a territory. Charles Crocker, Mark Hopkins, Leland Stanford, and Collis Huntington invested in the proposed Central Pacific Railroad, making them the Big Four of California. Quantrill leads a raid on Lawrence, Kansas. The United States military killed more than 250 Shoshone Indians near Logan, Utah in the Bear River Massacre. 1864. Montana is organized as a territory. Nevada is acknowledged as a 36th state of the United States. November 29th. Volunteer militia under the command of John Chivington massacre more than 150 Cheyenne people, mostly women and children, at a peaceful village on reservation land in the southeastern Colorado Territory in what is later called the Sand Creek Massacre. 1865. The Indians massacre William J. Fetterman and 80 men near Fort Kearney, Wyoming. Jesse and Frank James began their criminal careers with a bank robbery in Liberty, Missouri. The first cattle route was set on fire by Charles Goodnight and Oliver Loving, and 2,000 cattle were shipped from Texas to New Mexico. Jesse Chisholm, a trader, cut the Chisholm Trail by transporting a heavy load of buffalo hide from Oklahoma to Kansas. A cholera epidemic hit many American cities. July 21st, Wild Bill Hickok kills gambler Davis Tutt in a shootout in Springfield, Missouri. The confrontation is sensationalized in Harper's Magazine, making Hickok a household name. It is often considered the archetypal one-on-one quick-draw duel, which later becomes a popular image of the Old West. 1866, February 13th. Ex-Confederate bushwhackers Frank and Jesse James robbed their first bank, the Clay County Savings Association of Liberty, Missouri. June 15th. The U.S. Army selects a site for Fort Buford in the Dakota Territory, which is immediately and repeatedly attacked by Lakota Indians during the fort's construction. 1867. March 1st. Nebraska is admitted as the 37th state. March 30th. The United States purchases Alaska from the Russian Empire for $7.2 million. June 25th. Lucian B. Smith of Kent, Ohio is issued the first patent for barbed wire fencing, an invention which revolutionizes cattle ranching on the open prairies of the West. Cheyenne Indians derail a westbound Union Pacific train on unfinished transcontinental railroad near Plum Creek, Nebraska, killing 3 railroad workers, then burn and loot the boxcars. August 27th. Fort Ellis is established near present-day Bozeman, Montana. October 18th. At a ceremony in Sitka, Alaska, Russian soldiers officially transfer Alaska to the U.S. Army on Castle Hill. It is organized on the same day into the Department of Alaska to be administered by the Army. 1868. April 29th. The Treaty of Fort Laramie is signed between the United States and several bands of Lakota, Dakota, and Arapaho Indians. It results in the abandonment of U.S. military outposts along the Bozeman Trail, the indefinite closure of the Powder River Country and western South Dakota to white settlement, and the end of the Red Clouds War. July 25th. Wyoming is organized as a U.S. territory. September 17th through the 19th. U.S. cavalry under George A. Forsyth are surrounded and besieged by hundreds of Cheyenne, Arapaho, and Lakota on a small sandbar in the Arikari River, but their superior armaments hold position until scouts can escape to Fort Wallace, more than 70 miles to the east, to summon reinforcements. Famed Cheyenne warrior Roman Nose was killed during the battle. November 27th. The Battle of Washita River was fought when Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer's 7th Cavalry Regiment attacks a winter encampment of Southern Cheyenne Indians on the Washita River in what is now western Oklahoma. Chief Black Kettle, leader of the Cheyenne, is killed. 1869. The Pacific Center and Union Pacific join at Promontory Point, Utah, creating the first transcontinental railroad. Utah and Wyoming are organized into territories. Wyoming was the first state to give women the right to vote. Wild Bill Hickok is a marshal in Hays City, Kansas. Jesse James robbed his first bank. John Wesley Powell made his first expedition on the Green River and Colorado River. 1870. William Hurricane Bill Martin, a notorious outlaw in Kansas, begins rustling cattle southeast of Abilene before he and his gang are driven off by a posse from Marion. Settling in the New Mexico Territory, gunfighter Robert Clay Allison purchases a ranch in Colfax County. According to local newspapers, Allison is reported to have killed as many as 15 men in gunfights during his time. With the growing railroad industry and cattle boom, buffalo hunters began moving onto the Great Plains. In less than 10 years, the buffalo population is drastically reduced, and the animal remains are an endangered species for much of the next century. Shortly after leaving the post of sheriff of Ellis County, Kansas, Wild Bill Hickok travels to Missouri and eventually resumes his duties as a U.S. Marshal. Texas is readmitted into the Union following the Civil War. July 17th and 18th, Wild Bill Hickok is involved in a shootout with several members of the U.S. 7th Cavalry Regiment in Hays City after killing one trooper and wounding another. 1871, John K. King Fisher was hired by settlers of the Pendensia River country in Dimmitt County, Texas, to protect their livestock and other property. It is during this time that Fisher becomes known as a skilled gunfighter. More than 100 Apaches are killed in the Camp Grant massacre in Arizona. Wild Bill Hickok succeeds Tom Bear River Smith as city marshal of Abilene, Kansas, and remains in the position until December 13th. 1872, William F. Buffalo Bill Cody, a scout for the U.S. 5th Cavalry Regiment, is awarded the Medal of Honor. Later that year, he and fellow scout John Texas Jack Omohundro appeared on stage for the first time, portraying themselves in Scouts of the Prairie. The Apache Cochise leader surrendered to General O.O. Howard and was sent to reserve. Yellowstone became the first national park in the United States. The city of Dodge, Kansas, was established as a center of the buffalo trade. After 1876, Texas cattle and cowboys were the mainstay of the town's economy. The first official horse race was held in Cheyenne, Wyoming. The Modoc War raged in southern Oregon and northern California. The conflict, also known as the War in the Lava, was the last Indian war in these two states. Big Bonanza, Comstock's richest ore body, was discovered in Nevada. 1873, the Colt single-action Army revolver is first manufactured. It later became known as the gun that won the West. March 3rd, designed to encourage the cultivation of timber on the treeless Great Plains, the Timber Culture Act is signed into law by President Ulysses S. Grant. A follow-up to the Homestead Act of 1862, it permits homesteaders to claim 160 acres of public land on which they have planted and maintained at least 40 acres of timber for a minimum of 10 years. March 27th. A combined force of U.S. Army soldiers and Apache scouts wins another major victory over the Yavapai and Tonto Apache warriors at the Battle of Turret Peak in central Arizona. July 21st, the James Younger Gang commits the first train robbery in the history of the West by derailing the locomotive of the Rock Island Line, west of Adair, Iowa, and stealing $3,000 from the express safe and passengers on board. December 26th, California bandit Tiberico Vasquez and his gang loot the town of Kingston in Fresno County, California. 1874, March 17th, John Younger was killed when he and his brother Jim assault two undercover Pinkerton detectives and a local sheriff in St. Clair County, Missouri. June 27th, while occupying an old trading post in the Texas Panhandle, 28 bison hunters, including 21-year-old Bat Masterson, are besieged by 700 Comanche warriors at the Second Battle of Adobe Walls. Gold was discovered in the Black Hills of South Dakota. Joseph Glidden received a patent for barbed wire, an inexpensive, durable, and effective fencing material that, along with the extermination of buffalo herds, would open the plains to more efficient farming and ranching. Fort Sill was established in southwestern Oklahoma as an Indian war base of operations. 1875. January 5th, the city of Fargo is incorporated into the Dakota Territory. January 25th. Pinkerton agents throw an incendiary device into Jesse James's family home in Kearney, Missouri, killing James's 9-year-old half-brother and badly wounding his mother. August 8th. German Aguirre is killed near the San Joaquin Ranch in the New Mexico Territory. November 19th through 21st. The Las Cuevas War is fought when Texas Rangers, commanded by leader McNelly, engage Mexican militia in Tamaulipas in an attempt to return stolen cattle to U.S. territory. 1876, Bat Masterson became a deputy marshal of Dodge City, Kansas, serving alongside his brother, Jim. March 17th, when Sioux leaders Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse refused to comply with the United States government's order to leave the Black Hills of the Dakota Territory, an expeditionary force commanded by General George Crook directs Colonel Joseph J. Reynolds to attack a Cheyenne encampment at the Battle of Powder River, thus beginning the Great Sioux War. June 17th, General George Crook's forces are defeated by Crazy Horse at the Battle of the Rosebud. The defeat convinces Crook to withdraw from his planned offensive and await reinforcements. June 25th, while leading an attack into a Sioux village in the Montana Territory, the U.S. 7th Cavalry Regiment under Brigadier General George Armstrong Custer is ambushed and massacred by over 2,000 Lakota and Cheyenne warriors led by Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse at the Battle of the Little Bighorn. August 1st, Colorado is admitted as the 38th U.S. state. August 2nd, Wild Bill Hickok is shot and killed by Jack McCall during a poker game in Deadwood, Dakota Territory. September 7th, several members of the James Younger Gang, including Cole Younger, are captured after the failed robbery of the First National Bank, leading to a gunfight with bank employees and local residents in Northfield, Minnesota. 1877, June 25th, Fort Missoula is established in the Montana Territory. August 9th through 10th, the Battle of the Big Hole is fought in the Montana Territory between the Nez Perce and the U.S. soldiers under Colonel John Gibbon. August 17th, at 17 years old, Henry McCarty, later known as Billy the Kid, shoots his first man, Frank Windy Cahill, after Cahill wrestles him to the ground at a saloon near Fort Grant, Arizona. Cahill dies the following day. September 5th, 4 months after his surrender, Oglala war leader Crazy Horse is fatally fought with a bayonet by a U.S. Army soldier while allegedly resisting imprisonment at Fort Robinson. September 18th, a gang led by Sam Bass robs a Union Pacific train of more than $60,000 while it is stopped at a remote water station near present-day Big Springs, Nebraska. September 21st, prospector Ed Shefflin files his first mining claim after discovering silver ore on a high plateau between the San Pedro River and the Dragoon Mountains in southeastern Arizona Territory. He names his stakes Tombstone. October 5th, cornered at the Battle of Bear Paw just 40 miles south of the Canadian border in the Montana Territory, Chief Joseph and his dwindling band of Nez Perce surrender to the U.S. Army under Generals Oliver O. Howard and Nelson A. Miles, ending the Nez Perce War. 1878, January 22nd, a gang of outlaws led by Dave Rudabaugh, Mike Roark, and Dan Dement attempt unsuccessfully to rob a train near Kinsey, Kansas. Rudabaugh is captured the next day by Bat Masterson and a posse including John Joshua Webb. February 18th, New Mexico rancher John Tunstall is killed by a posse led by Lincoln County Sheriff William J. Brady, sent to seize attached property after Tunstall fails to pay a debt to rival cattlemen, beginning the Lincoln County War. The town of Leadville is incorporated into Colorado. June 18th, Nick Worthington, a well-known outlaw throughout New Mexico and Colorado, is killed by residents of Cimarron, New Mexico after killing several men and stealing horses. July 15th through 19th, the Battle of Lincoln takes place over 5 days in Lincoln, New Mexico. Alexander McSween, former partner of John Tunstall, is shot and killed on July 19th, along with gunman Francisco Zamora. August 31st, Fort Meade is established in the Black Hills of the Dakota Territory to protect against the illegal encroachment of white settlers onto reservation lands. 1879, Ike and Billy Clanton enlist William Curly Bill Brocious and Johnny Ringo as they begin cattle rustling in the New Mexico and Arizona territories. Captain Marcus Reno, the highest-ranking officer to have survived the Battle of the Little Bighorn, is brought before a general court-martial but is acquitted of cowardice. February 18th, outlaw Jesse Evans allegedly holds Billy the Kid and Tom O'Folliard at gunpoint as he murders lawman Houston Chapman in Lincoln, New Mexico. March 17th, New Mexico Territorial Governor Lew Wallace meets with Billy the Kid in Lincoln, promising him amnesty for his previous crimes in exchange for his testimony regarding Chapman's murder. The Kid is taken into custody on March 21st and later testifies as agreed, but is not released from jail. April 5th, gambler Frank Loving kills Levi Richardson in a gunfight at the Long Branch Saloon in Dodge City, Kansas. June 17th, concluding that Governor Wallace has deceived him, Billy the Kid escapes from jail in Lincoln, New Mexico. September 26th, a fire devastates Deadwood, South Dakota, destroying most of the town's original buildings. September 29th, in the White River War, Nathan Meeker and 10 employees from the White River Indian Agency in western Colorado are massacred by Ute Indians when Meeker wires for military assistance in suppressing a perceived uprising. The Utes besiege a U.S. Army detachment in the Battle of Mill Creek until it is relieved by troops under Colonel Wesley Merritt on October 5th. 1880, the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad reaches Santa Fe, marking the death of the Santa Fe Trail. Apache leader Victorio is slain in Mexico. Hide hunters have shot the buffalo to near extinction. 1881. February 5th, the city of Phoenix is incorporated into the Arizona Territory. April 14th, a gunfight involving El Paso, Texas Marshal Dallas Studenmeyer results in what witnesses recall as 4 dead in 5 seconds. July 14th, Billy the Kid is shot and killed by Sheriff Pat Garrett in Fort Sumner, New Mexico. He is buried the next day between his friends Tom O'Folliard and Charlie Bowder in the town's old military cemetery. August 5th, Crow Dog, a Lakota sub-chief on the Great Sioux Reservation, shoots and kills Chief Spotted Tail. Although the matter is settled by tribal custom, Crow Dog is to death under the laws of the Dakota Territory, only to be freed by a decision of the Supreme Court. August 26th, the gunfight at the OK Corral takes place in the street behind the saloon in Tombstone, Arizona, pitting the Earps and Doc Holliday against Ike and Billy Clanton, Frank and Tom McLaury, and Billy Claiborne. Billy Clanton and the McLaurys are killed, and Virgil and Morgan Earp, along with Holliday, are wounded. December 13th. San Jose, California becomes the first city west of the Rocky Mountains with civic electric lighting when a 237-foot-tall moonlight tower is illuminated downtown. 1882, Jesse James is killed by Bob Ford in St. Joseph, Missouri. Chariot robber Black Bart was arrested in California. Adolphe Bandelier sets out on a journey to explore the ruins of the ancient Pueblan people of New Mexico. Judge Roy Bean opens the Jersey Lily Saloon in Langtree, Texas. End of China's free immigration. Annie Oakley made her first public appearance at a sharpshooting show. The last great Indian buffalo hunt took place in North Dakota. 1883. Theodore Roosevelt arrives in North Dakota to hunt buffalo and buy a ranch. Swiss artist Karl Bodmer travels to the west. Texas purchased the Alamo from the Catholic Church to preserve it as a historic temple. The North Pacific Railroad, which connects the northwestern states with points to the east, was finally completed after 19 years of struggling against treacherous terrain and unstable financial resources. Along the line, teams blasted a 3,850-foot tunnel through solid granite and built an 1,800-foot-tall scaffold. The result was that the round trip to the Columbia River that Lewis and Clark took 2.5 years in 1803 took only 9 days. Buffalo Bill Cody starts his Wild West show. 1884. March 11th, former lawmen Ben Thompson and John King Fisher are ambushed and killed by enemies of Thompson at the Jack Harris Vaudeville Saloon and Theater in San Antonio, Texas. April 10th, lawmen William Bill Tillman is appointed City Marshal of Dodge City, Kansas. May 17th. The Department of Alaska is organized into the District of Alaska. On August 19, 1884, John H. Doc Holliday shot bartender Billy Allen in the arm for more than $5 in Leadville, Colorado. December 1st, a 36-hour standoff begins in the town of Reserve, New Mexico, when a posse of Texan cowboys confronts lawman El Fego Baca for having arrested an intoxicated cowboy. 1885, September 2nd. Years of racial tension, aggravated by labor unrest over the preferential hiring of Chinese immigrants for very low wages, come to a head in the Rock Springs Massacre, which leaves at least 28 Chinese coal miners dead at the hands of white miners in the town of Rock Springs, Wyoming. The riot touches off a wave of anti-Chinese violence across the country. 1886, Geronimo surrenders to General Nelson A. Miles in Skeleton Canyon, Arizona, after more than a decade of guerrilla warfare against American and Mexican settlers in the Southwest. The terms of surrender required Geronimo and his tribe to settle in Florida, where the Army hoped to detain him. February 18, 1886. Dave Rudabaugh, a former member of Billy the Kid's Dodge City gang, is said to be arrested and beheaded by townspeople after terrorizing the village of Parral, Mexico. December 1, 1886. Brothers Jim and Rube Burrow hijack their first train in Bellevue, Texas. 1887. Silver is discovered in Leadville, Colorado. On November 8, 1887, Doc Holliday died of tuberculosis in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. Congress passed the General Appropriations Act, or the Dawes Act. Under its terms, tribal lands and tribal chiefs were effectively dissolved. While it was in effect, 1887 to 1934, about 60% of Indians' remaining land area, more than 86 million acres, was not owned by Indians. 1889, January 12th. During the Gray County War, a shootout erupts in Cimarron, Kansas, when a party led by Bill Tillman raids the old Gray County Courthouse in an attempt to bring the county records of the neighboring town of Ingalls. February 3rd, Belle Starr is murdered in Oklahoma. April 22nd, an estimated 50,000 homesteaders rush to claim nearly 2 million acres of unoccupied land appropriated for public settlement from ceded Native American territory in what is now central Oklahoma. It is the first of several major land runs in the region. June 24th, outlaw Butch Cassidy robs his first bank in Telluride, Colorado before fleeing to the remote hideout of Robber's Roost. November 2nd, North Dakota and South Dakota are admitted as the 39th and 40th U.S. states. 8 imprisoned Apache renegades, including the Apache Kid, murder 2 sheriffs and escape into the desert during a prisoner transfer near Globe, Arizona. North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, and Washington are admitted to the Union. 1890. Oklahoma is organized as a territory. Idaho and Wyoming were admitted to the Union. Massacre at Wounded Knee, South Dakota, ending the Indian War. Sitting Bull was murdered during a confrontation at the Standing Rock Reservation. The U.S. Department of the Interior announced that the border is officially closed. 1892. The Dalton Gang attack Coffeyville, Kansas. Grat and John are killed. Emmett is sent to prison. A cowherd's army invades Johnson County, Wyoming, in an incident known as the Johnson County War. 1893. Repeal of the Sherman Act abolished silver. Many silver boomtowns went bust overnight. 1896. Utah is admitted to the Union. Butch Cassidy founded Wild Bunch, consisting of 15 men and 4 women. 1900. Galveston, Texas is hit by a hurricane, killing approximately 6,000 residents. Jim Butler discovered silver in Tonopah, Nevada, creating a boom for 20 years. 1901. Black gold is discovered at the Spindletop oil field near Beaumont, Texas. On August 26, 1901, Black Jack Ketchum was hanged in Clayton, New Mexico. He's the only person ever hanged for train robbery in the state of New Mexico. 1906. The Great San Francisco earthquake and fire kills about 700 people and leaves 225,000 people homeless. 1907. November 16th, Oklahoma is admitted as the 46th U.S. state. 1908, February 29th, Pat Garrett is murdered under mysterious circumstances near Las Cruces, Mexico territory. November 7th, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid are reportedly found dead following a shootout with police in the town of San Vicente, Bolivia. 1911, August 28th, Ishi, called the Last Wild Indian, surrenders near Oroville, California. 1912, January 6th, New Mexico is admitted as the 47th state. February 14th, Arizona is admitted as the 48th U.S. state. It is the last state to be admitted to the Union during the Old West era. August 24th, the District of Alaska is organized into the Territory of Alaska. 1916, December 5th, the last stagecoach robbery in the American history occurs at Jarbidge Canyon, Nevada, when 3 robbers hold up a U.S. Post Office Department stagecoach, shoot the driver, and steal $4,000 in cash. The criminals are captured without incident soon after. 1959, January 6th, Alaska is admitted as the 49th state, marking the complete political incorporation of continental U.S. Western territorial acquisitions. Please like and share if you find the video content interesting and useful. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and comment below so as not to miss the upcoming interesting videos. Thanks for watching.